Hey everybody, Keith Worrall with Pros for One Source, out on the water doing some crappie fishing today. And I've got a technique that I used to use many years ago that I kind of got back into using again over the last few years. This technique is specifically designed for trolling crappies in shallow water basin lakes. When I say shallow water basins, I'm talking lakes that top out at 8 to 10 feet max in depth. We have a lot of those lakes up here in the Northwoods. The technique that we're going to be using is actually trolling rattle traps, believe it or not, for crappies. You can get the smallest rattle traps you can find. RN4 actually is this guy right here that I just put on by Rapala. I mean, you don't have to buy the Rapala brand, but I've got a few different styles from different companies here that I'm going to be fishing with today. And what we're trying to do is just keep the boat in the area that the fish are in. So first off, we went through with the hummingbirds, found the fish out in 6 feet. This lake tops out at 8. It's a real shallow lake. It's very small. It's probably a 100-acre, 90-acre lake tops. We're going to first off find the fish on the birds, and then we're going to go back and we're going to troll through them at 1.1 to 1.2. The slowest I would go down to is 0.9, and fastest I would go pulling a rattle trap is 1.3, 1.4 max. If you're gonna troll a rattle trap in a little bit deeper water, let's say you're in basins that are 10 to 12 feet, what you can do, I'll show you the setup that I'm using that'll help you be able to get that rattle trap down a little bit deeper. First off, I've just got a spinning rod set up. This is actually a Vexen 6.5 foot spinning rod. The setup I'm using, rattle trap direct tied to a 2.5 foot fluorocarbon leader. Mainly I'm using fluorocarbon because we've got a lot of pike here and these baits are expensive. I want to get it back, so that's the reason that I've got it started off with a fluorocarbon leader, going up to a 2.5 foot up to a small swivel, and then direct tied to your line to your rod. If you want to be able to get that rattle trap down, you start out a little bit faster, going 1.2, 1.3. Pay attention, cast it back as far as you can, then let out a good 20, 25 more feet of line. You can feel the rattle trap back there. When it gets to the point where you want to get a little deeper, if you're not getting hits because you're up a little high at that point, so what I'll do is I'll take a split shot and I'll add a split shot above the swivel here, and that'll start to pull that rattle trap down because the sinker is in front of it, like so. The rattle trap will be running like this. If you want to get it much deeper, you can go with a slip sinker, put it up in front of your swivel, a little bit heavier slip sinker, and then you can just play with the size of your slip sinkers to how deep you want this thing to run. Today we're not going to need much for sinkers because we're fishing this lake literally most of the time. We're going to be trolling to 6 feet of water. So we're going to start out at about 1.5 speed-wise. Control a good lap here on the small lake. See if I can't get these fish to react. I'm going to kind of try to skim the tip of the point with the lures. It came in a little closer than that one. Dad just had one right at the base of that point here that we're coming on, and fish came off. So, give you an idea on how small the crappies will hit these things. Look at that. That's maybe an 8-incher. But for a start, it's a crappie. So, trolling small rattle traps, they come up and smoke them. You'll get crappies even half this size that'll hit a rattle trap. So we've got 6 foot. We're going to come back in a little bay here and then kind of work around this point. There wasn't a ton of fish on the sonar to make it worth going back to. There's one. That one might be not a real big one, but a little better, I think. That one smucked it good too.
Boy, really good.
It's actually a keeper for tonight. Make sure I turn our boat before we end up ashore. Yeah. You can see, I mean, talk about how much they like these baits. That bait is gone in his mouth. He ate that whole thing. So that's a perfect eater. This is the kind of lake that what we're targeting today is actually eater fish. There's not a lot of big ones in here, but by doing what we're doing with these style lures, if there is a big one in the area, you got a chance at hooking it. He's got really nice big treble hooks on him. And that one again, we just came around a point, bam. As soon as we came around it, we had a crappie. You do this over the course of a day, especially in the fall when it's cold, you don't want to get your hands frozen. This is a really good way to go catch a limit of crappies. When you cast it back, don't give it a real hard cast, just a nice easy lob. That'll hopefully ensure that that bait doesn't get fouled up with the hook. Now the wind is blowing us pretty good, so I'm going to slow us back down. We were almost all up to 1.7 there, not paying attention, but nice thing about having a remote for the Ultrex, says so right on the remote. Nice and easy. Everything you need to know. There we go. It's kind of funny because when they hit you, your rod just kind of bumps forward a little bit and then the weight comes. Little guy. Little guy, look at that.
It's a small crappie.
Not much bigger than that rattle trap. Most of the fish that have hit us have been hitting us about 1.2 to 1.3. There's one. So I've been just kind of trying to keep us at that speed, 1.3-ish. Not quite a keeper. That's got one on. Actually a keeper, looks like. That's an eater.
Gets right off that lily pad point. I think it wanted that crankbait. Look at that.
That thing's gone. So that's we're not even what, 3/4 way around the lake right now. Probably got about a half hour in. And we have 4 that we could have kept now and released a few little ones, so not bad for a quick little pass.